Do you wish you felt confident going downhill, but instead find yourself losing control or dealing with pain in your knees? One of the big problems when going downhill, similar to going downhill in a car, you need your muscles to act as brakes. And when you don't have a lot of brake power, a lot of muscle strength, your joints start to take more of the stress, and it becomes much more difficult to control yourself down. As a physical therapist, I have some great news. It is possible to tackle going downhill. And I'm going to share with you my 3 favorite movements to help you start building strength right now. While you're working on strength though, one tip you can use immediately to make walking downhill easier is walk on a zigzag. This tends to be nicer to the knees and makes it a little bit easier to traverse down a hill with more control. This first exercise is going to be in a seated position. The next 2 are going to progress in difficulty and move to standing. When you're going downhill, think slow and controlled. And when you move to the exercises, we're thinking the same thing, slow and controlled. Grab a resistance band. Now, the beauty of this first exercise is there are so many options for this. If you have one of these loop resistance bands, you can slide it around your shins. So you're going to kind of bring it about halfway up here. Bring your knees back as far as you can comfortably into a knee bend. If I'm going to be working the left leg, sit at the edge of the chair, kick one leg out, and try to get it all the way straight. Then, as you bring it back down, you're thinking slow and controlled. It's not just a quick movement like this. You have to train the muscles a little bit differently when you're trying to gain the strength controlling your body downhill. Another option, if these bands tend to roll up on you, is using one of these thicker cotton bands. You will do the same thing. Place it around your shins and then kick out and back. To make this more challenging, and if you have a light chair, you can place the band underneath one of the legs and have a seat. From here, you will put that same leg on the band and repeat, kicking straight out and then slowly bringing it back in. In order to prevent it from rolling on you, you may not be able to straighten it all the way. But the key that we're focusing on is bringing that leg back. For this variation, you are going to kick out at about just under straight to prevent the band from rolling. But this variation will make it more challenging because you have more resistance back here and you're using that thigh muscle to really control your leg down. For this last option, if you have a long resistance band, you can tie a circle in it, bring it down to about mid-shin, and I like to do this trick where you actually cross the band and then you'll put your second foot in it. So it looks like an X, just like this. This is going to provide a little extra resistance. So now as I kick my left leg out, I have a little more resistance here and then can pull myself back. The beauty of this band is you can manipulate the size very easily if you need a smaller band or a larger band. A good place to start for most people is aiming for 10 to 15 kicks each side. Increase or decrease the repetitions as needed. This second exercise is going to take the thigh and hip strengthening up a notch. You'll still need a chair. Feet are about shoulder width apart. Legs are not touching the back of the chair. Essentially, what you're going to do is sit down as slow and controlled as you can. Stand up like you normally would. Focus on sitting down. Try to count to yourself. 1, 2, 3. Stand back up. If you're one of those people that plop down in the chair, this is the exercise that you need to work on, building that vital strength to control your body downhill. As you sit down, you want to avoid your knees caving in just like this. By doing so, it can cause some inner knee pain, but it can also avoid using the specific muscles we're targeting. So, as you sit down slowly, try to keep your knees in line with your ankles. Now, I understand this type of chair squat can be difficult at first. A good goal to aim for is 5 to 10 repetitions at a time. You can increase the repetitions as you feel more confident with this movement. When you're thinking about going downhill, you're typically controlling your body weight with one leg. When you're able to master the slow chair squat by easily completing 10 to 15 repetitions, we can move on to single leg strengthening. I like to use a step stool or an elevated surface for this. You can also use a regular height stair. If you have a flight of stairs in your home, you will just use the bottom step. For this movement, start with your right foot on top of the step. Take this back foot back as far as you comfortably can. Then think about someone pushing you from the top of your head straight down. So notice a few things here. My front knee is bent. My back heel is off the ground, and my back knee is also bent. Then push yourself back to the starting point. Again, you're thinking slow and controlled. Slow on the way down, and then press away. It may be helpful to count 1, 2, 3. And then press away. I like to use an elevated surface here, especially if you're dealing with knee pain. If you watch this front knee as I come down, my knee stays relatively behind my toes. Not saying that knees over your toes is a bad position by any means, but if you are dealing with knee pain, it may not be very comfortable. So this elevated surface helps to push that knee back. You can also do this on the ground without the elevated surface. You may come closer to that position of knees over toes, which again is okay if you're not currently experiencing knee pain. This can be the goal, because as you're going downhill, your knee does go over your toe. But we have to build the strength first in a position that does not irritate your knees further before we move down to the floor. Start by mastering easily 10 to 12 repetitions each side on the step stool. Once you feel good there, during and after, moving to the floor and coming to that slow lunge position can be a great next step to increase that difficulty. Each of these 3 exercises can start to build thigh and hip strength, vital for going downhill. The idea is to choose the one that is the most challenging for you right now. Focus on that movement for the next 1 to 2 weeks, completing every other day if possible. Then progress to the next one once you feel confident in the one you're working on. If you are also having difficulty going uphill, the strengthening and the positioning is a bit different. So I would highly recommend heading to this video next, where you can see some exercises to prioritize there. It is possible to adventure if you're having joint pain, joint stiffness, or simply just difficulty doing tasks just like walking downhill. Get started with your first exercise today so you can start your journey to building stronger legs.